Welcome to Association Edge, brought to you by Kelly Dando Consulting. Here we share practical advice, smart strategies, and proven tips for leading boards, managing associations, and growing stronger organizations. Whether you're a board member, a volunteer, or an association professional, you'll find insights to help you lead with confidence and make an impact. This is your edge in association management. Let's get started.
Good morning. Today on Team Talk Tuesday, we are going to be talking about dues and event pricing and how we see as setting those numbers and what we're seeing as a team. We've got Emily today and Jamie, and we're going to do kind of an internal discussion on what we're seeing with dues. So Emily, do you want to get us started on, let's start with dues pricing. What are your opinions? What are you seeing?
Yeah, a lot of our chapters have member pricing for dues where we have the National Association people will pay, and then they also have chapter dues. So most of mine, I'd say, are between the $30 to $75 range. Is that about what you guys see?
Mine is all over the place. From $0, I think the highest one I have right now is $200.
Okay.
And I think the one thing we agreed on is we do not like free dues. So we have some
We don't
chapters
like
that
free
think
dues.
that there's a benefit in making membership free. And for our team, it is incredibly difficult to sell membership when you can attend events with no skin in the game, basically.
Right.
Would you all agree?
100%.
Oh, yeah. And I
And we-
think you get a lot of RSVPs and registration and then no shows based on that as well, which is a problem.
Yeah, that's so true. And the other thing that we have at several different clients is attendance is included in membership. And I really think that's based on where you are in the country as to whether or not that works. But it's incredibly effective at some chapters because you pay your dues and you cut one check, right? And then you can attend most of the events for that price. But I will say, I feel like that affects our attendance because someone will RSVP for free. And once again, when there's no skin in the game, they tend to no show. What are your thoughts?
I also agree with that. I actually have a question for that. So when I previously worked for this agency, we didn't really do that. That was something that was new. So how did we communicate that shift?
That's a great question. So I think boards grapple with that change because you're going from a due structure where it might be $50 a year to $250 a year. So I think the key in selling that is, hey, this gets you these 10 events. So you can come to all of these events and basically we're losing money. I mean, that is the downside when you have that
Right.
structure. If someone attends every single one of those events, you're actually losing money on their membership. But, if our end game is growing an association and getting more people in the room, I mean, that's a really good problem to have. Emily, what
Right.
are you think? What do you think?
I agree.
So we've had one chapter that struggled with how the semantics would work. And I think that there was a lot of talk and a lot of fear. And then it ended up being much to do about nothing. When we've shifted from the smaller amount to the larger amount, I have never in the history of doing this, I've never seen a bunch of members not renew. So the reality is most of them are pushing it through their companies anyways, right? It's not personal pay. So they view it as, okay, well, I'm going to send this one bill in and then it gets me attendance. We've never seen a drop in membership because of that shift. But, go ahead, Emily.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's important to show the benefits of the membership of what you're getting, even if it's something to provide them to take back to their company of like, this is why dues are going up, and just be able to explain that, make it easy for them to be able to explain why dues are going up and the advantages of it.
That's a great point. And we really should do that, whether we're shifting models or just increasing dues. I think members need accountability as to why we would have an increase in that.
Yeah.
So let's shift from dues to event pricing because we have some very strong opinions on event pricing. I will say before we hopped on this podcast, the team was talking about how everything seems to be going up at venues. So we have a conference that we're planning and the price is almost doubled for the minimum. I mean, what we're seeing is pretty extraordinary for pricing at some of these event venues. So how do we combat that with event pricing? What are your opinions on that?
Definitely having a member price and a non-member price and making sure that they are not very close together.
I
That's a
agree with
hill I will
that.
die on because
I'll die on that
Yeah.
hill with you.
these chapters that are like, oh, let's make it a $5 difference. The problem with doing that is then I can't sell membership. So what helps me sell membership is saying, hey, look, if you attend 3 events, you've paid for your membership. So why would you not just join, get the member rate, and be able to attend more meetings? So it's
Mhm.
really hard for me when some of our clients want to make even the same. We have some that want to do the same member, non-member pricing. Why the heck would you join an association
Right.
pricing's the same?
Or
I
if
agree.
everything's free.
Or if everything
Yeah.
is free, which we have major issues with no shows when we have free.
Yes.
It's interesting though, because I was on a call with a bunch of executive directors and they were experiencing the same problem, but they had mentioned that when it's a free event and somebody does a no show, there was this idea of charging. Have we seen that at any of our clients? So if you no show at a free event, you're going to be billed $25. My concern would be collection of that money. What do you all think?
Yeah. I think collection of it would be hard. I think it's a good kind of like shame on you point where you're, reaching out to them and saying, hey, we had to pay for this based on your RSVP. And sometimes people just don't even think about that. But,
Mhm.
it's like we ordered you a plate of food,
Yeah.
we ordered more drinks because we thought you were attending. So, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't know how often it works,
Yeah.
but I think having that on the invite maybe, or having a disclaimer at the bottom of the email saying if you RSVP, I did have that for an event where if you RSVP'd for this and canceled, you will be charged. So at least they knew that in advance.
Do you give them like if you cancel within, I don't know, whatever we have to give the rate to the venue. Like before that, no problem. But if you are
Yeah, if you're within 4 days or something, that's
sure.
a good idea too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that for other events.
It does just seem like a lot of time to
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
work on the back end
Yeah.
on
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I do like the disclaimer. Hey, if you need to cancel, sorry, you can't cancel after this date, but you can send a replacement. So we can just change out the name
Yeah.
tag, which is easier than handling the replacement. The other thing we were talking about on this call is there are some venues that want a 2 week out head count, and we all agree that we are getting so many last minute
Yes.
registrations. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm getting 10 to 20% at some clients for registration the day before, and that's insane to me. I've never seen that level. Are you all seeing that?
Yes. I mean, not everywhere, but I don't know. It kind of feels like a time of the year thing for me too.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just heard from someone the other day. I wanted to talk to you guys about sponsor registrations too with the pricing, like having it included in
Mhm.
your sponsorship, having a couple of event registrations included in sponsorships.
I
But
love
I had one, yeah, last week where the person said, oh, sorry, I think a day or two before, it's a really busy time at work. So I wasn't sure if I'd be able to attend, but I can attend. So I definitely think time of year wise, you're getting last minute
Yeah.
registrations.
yeah.
Well, and that brings us to a good point of pricing. So I think when we
Yeah.
price it, we have to look at a lot of things, right? So we have to look at the cost of the event. We have to look
Hmm.
at what are we expecting for sponsorships? Is this an event where we're going to get sponsorships for it? And then I love, Emily, that you brought up the sponsorship that includes attendees because those are my favorite sponsorships. You're guaranteed, for example, one of my Dallas clients, we're guaranteed to get 30 people at every event just because they're sponsors. And
Yeah.
they don't show up, the reality is we make money on even more money on that sponsorship because they're not taking up the meal.
Right.
So, how are you figuring out the pricing for an event to include sponsorships and to include these attendees? How are we pricing events based on that knowledge?
I know one of mine does when they do the sponsorships at the beginning of the year, they go through and, what's the fair market value of each of these events based on last year, but then the
Yeah.
prices always go up for the next year. Um, And then that's how they show that value to the client to sell the sponsorships. But then you kind of know what you're working with, money wise of what you can spend from those sponsorships.
Yeah, that's a good point. So a lot of our clients do yearly sponsorships. So we know the money that we've got attributed to each event. And at that point, we can build in the cost of the event. But I have a rule of thumb. I don't know if you all agree with this, but I like to see the member rate versus the non-member rate be double. So if your luncheon is
That's
$30 for members, I like to see $60 for non-members. That's typically my go-to. What do you all think?
I'd say something very similar to that. I don't know if mine are necessarily doubling, but the ones that, in my opinion, are doing it correctly are definitely having at least a third, if not double, of the price.
I want to
do
make
too.
it an incentive for someone to attend, but I want to make it where it would pay for their dues after so many meetings. So,
Yeah.
That's key.
I
Yeah.
mean, we
And to
might
sell
have,
it like that,
yeah, I
too.
think it's helpful for membership. So, for example, in Dallas, we might have a luncheon. I mean, Dallas is expensive to plan things. Same with Houston. So you might have the member rate at $75 and the non-member rate at $150. And I know that seems really high for a non-member to attend, but the reality is we do first-time guests that are free in most cases. So if you're a first-time guest and you're looking at the association, you can attend at no cost, almost, like a better rate than a member. And then if you're just somebody that wants to come once a year to a meeting, you should pay a premium for that, in my opinion.
I think so too.
So what are you all seeing? When we came out of COVID, we talked about remote versus in-person meetings. And do we charge the same price? I have one chapter that wants to charge more for remote because there's a premium for not coming and networking. What are your thoughts on that?
I like
I don't
charging
know.
for a virtual ticket. I don't know if I would charge the same as if someone was in person, especially if there's a meal attributed to it. But this just goes back to I don't like offering anything for free. If you're offering some sort of service, know your worth. Don't do it for free.
You would do it less than the
Yes.
in-person meeting?
So,
Interesting.
say for example, the member rate is $40 for this event. If they want to come and it's virtual, they're going to eat their lunch at their desk and watch this. And especially if like something like continuing education is involved.
Yeah.
That's what I think. It
Make it
depends on that.
$20, $25, like I don't see any point in offering a free option for someone to not be there in person.
So I think it should be a premium. I think if you are not leaving the office and you are getting to sit at your desk, you should pay more to do it there. But I understand the cost of food is not there. But I feel like
Yeah.
we give that option, and not only that, make it cheaper for a lot of our clients. I feel like they're going to choose the online option.
Yeah,
and
I
we
mean
want
that's a great point. I mean, going back, I
Yeah.
probably should have said we'll do it the same. It's the same price as member, non-member. It's just you're either in person or you're not. But then you just have to make sure that you know who's going to be there in person.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hey, it's 2025. It's still a thing. I'm not saying that's not, but just be in person. Just be in person.
Emily, what are your thoughts?
I think depending on if you have education offered, I definitely think that
Yeah.
makes a difference on the cost. If you're just sitting on a webinar learning about something you could look up in a video and watch for 3 minutes on your own, there's not as much value, I don't think.
Well, and even between the three of us, we all have different ideas. So you can imagine when you're working with boards that have their own opinions on this, I feel like pricing is a very controversial and a lot of clients do it differently. And so all we can do is bring what we've seen to the table and give advice on what our opinions are. So as we wrap up this Team Talk Tuesday, thank you, team, for joining. If
You're
anyone
welcome.
has questions or would like to give feedback, please do so in the comments, and we look forward to seeing everyone soon. Thank you.